Today we'll be continuing with our classic series, The Alternative Future of the World. We ended around the 2040s with a lot of tension in the world. The communism has spread to Europe once again, and it has continued to spread to Africa and as well. Africa is the only continent left without any major alliances. After the Central African Alliance was dissolved, when the DRC joined the Central African Union, creating the largest country in African history as well. A new conflict arose between the Central African Union. It's no longer the East African Union, it's called the Central African Union because it's in Central Africa. Basically, there's this area of Angola that is not a part, that is separated by sea. The Central African Union basically offers to buy the land from Angola. This area is practically worthless anyways, and Angola thus accepts the deal. They also create a new mutual cooperation pact with each other, which will help both the Central African Union and it will also help Angola as well. Angola has no interest to join the Central African Union, but will be an alliance with the country. So both countries will be able to support each other in times of need. Humanity also puts the first colonies on the moon and Mars. The moon colonies are not very populated, and the first man and men to set foot on Mars also happens at the same time. Elon Musk is finally successful in it, but basically there won't be any, at least for now, any altered future of Mars. If people really want to see that, then leave it in the comments below if you do. I might make it anyways, because it'll be very interesting to see what countries and civilizations pop up. There has been conflict in West Africa. Basically, it is over Ghana and Ivory Coast. Both countries have a disagreement over this little area here. Ivory Coast claims that this is their land as well. Also, the ally Togo claims land here. A war breaks out between all three countries. Ivory Coast and Togo plan to divide up Ghana. Ghana, however, asks help from several other countries, including Benin and North Nigeria. This was a very bad move on the side of the Ivory Coast and Togo. Togo gets invaded by both countries, which means the liberation of Togoland is not going to happen. Ivory Coast gets invaded relatively quickly. The northern part of Ivory Coast gets invaded. Ivory Coast signs a deal to leave them alone. Also, Togo is divided up between Benin and Ghana as well. Togo will cease to exist as a country overall. The West puts sanctions on both Ghana and Benin for annexing a quote-unquote innocent country as well. Scotland votes to become an independent state from the UK. They will still remain in the Union, but will be two separate countries. Scotland will not be a part of the Union at the very beginning, and it will vote to be a very separate country from the UK. The Scandinavian countries also vote to unite with each other. Finland is the only country that does not vote to be a part of this union. And Iceland does not vote either, along with Greenland. Svalbard will become an independent territory now, because they did not vote to be a part of the Union either. Svalbard will destroy. Also, Svalbard, however, struggles because it does have an economic boom because of climate change. More people start to settle from Norway, Greenland, and Iceland to create a new ethnicity, which is basically the Svalbardian ethnicity as well. The Neo-Ottoman Empire invades Jordan and Lebanon. Lebanon is quickly taken out, and Jordan is quickly taken out. However, Saudi Arabia and Israel take half of Jordan to make so the lands are not under Turkish rule. There is literally a new Cold War in the Middle East between Turkey as well. Basically, this will be the new state of Palestine in Jordan, and Jordan will become basically a protectorate of Saudi Arabia to prevent the Turks from expanding even more. The Turks have one area to expand to, and that is the Caucasian region. This area, but Turkey will have to build the military up. Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan are scared that Russia and Turkey and Iran might just partition the Caucasian region, as there has been meaning between all three countries to partition this region as well. However, Azerbaijan is the only country that would really be a part of Turkey, meanwhile Armenia and Georgia do not. This causes a lot of tension over the next couple of years over the planned invasion of the Caucasian region. The U.S. was the first country to set foot on Mars. The second country to set foot on Mars is Russia and China. Both countries set foot on Mars, and quickly after India and the EU set foot on Mars. Well, if you want to see a separate series about that, put that in the comment section below about how Europe, China, Russia, USA, and India, and also eventually East African Federation and Brazil set foot on Mars. Canada, hoping to spread their ideology further into Europe, they don't see many options, but they do see a newly independent they do see a rebellion happening as well. Northern Scandinavia was the main reason that did not want to be a part of here. So there is now a rebellion and a civil war in the Scandinavian Union. This is mostly against communists. As the communists, which are mostly leftists, do not want to be, and also Stockholm do not want to be a part of this so-called union. The Stockholm rebels are put down pretty quickly, but the rebels put up a defense in the mountainous areas of Scandinavia. This is pretty difficult to fight because of the very difficult to access terrain as well, but the Scandinavian military is pretty advanced as well, and defeats the communists. The Scandinavian Union finds out who did this, and they report to England, Germany, and France and Spain that Canada was behind the rebel, which means, for the first time, the Western world puts sanctions on Canada, which is something that no one would ever want to hear. The year is 2050. Do the world projections in 2050 play out? Well, the world has been in mass turmoil. The problem is, the fertility rates have fallen so low in several areas. For example, Mexico's fertility rate is only around 1.4, which is the same as the US as well. Mexico, along with many Latin American countries, have been basically begging America to do basically a reverse immigration, because Latin America's birth rates have fallen so fast. For example, Chile is very low fertility rate. So basically, they're basically saying, USA, we don't want people to come from our country anymore. We want them back because, we have problems of having people to come to Mexico. So basically, Mexico and El Salvador, Honduras, and Brazil, basically, and of course Colombia, Chile, and Argentina, with the very low fertility rates, and also the quite a Catholicism, finally decided to say, you know what, we're going to open the door for immigration from Africa and the U.S. as well. Not Canada. They don't want no filthy Canadian communists in the country. And also immigration from India and the Russian alliance as well. This is going to permanently change up the demographics of Latin America and make Latin America even more diverse as well. However, Russia and China have successfully been able to raise the birth rate slightly, but it's still a bad side. And China's population has actually shrunken to just around 1.1 billion. Yet Korea's population in South Korea's birth rate has went up to around 1.4, which is the same as the North Korea, but it has still kind of just struggled as Korea's population has declined. A lot of Europe's population has declined as well, and also massive backlash towards immigration causes a lot of problems for Europe as well, which is what caused nationalism to rise in Italy and also Turkey as well. As Turkey, as people don't notice, was the brunt of the Syrian refugee crisis. Turkey accepted more than 2 million Syrian refugees, which has basically made the country more right wing as well. Also, Turkey is a country settlement of Turks in the Balkan Peninsula and Iraq and Syria and Lebanon. Further making the demographics of these countries more Turkish and less Arab. This is causing local unrest around these areas as well, and might be brewing for an independence war between the Arab states, Greece, Albania, south of Serbia, Bulgaria, and countries like that, as those countries are losing basically what made those countries to begin with, and just turn them into just extensions of Turkey as well. Even Africa's birth rates have plummeted massively, going from an average birth rate of 3.8 to 2.5. The UN also makes birth rates the number one concern, so because even places like India have very low birth rates, and now birth rates are now the number one concern instead of climate change, which also climate change is also negatively affecting the Sahel region and causing even more instability and civil wars now. And no, we'll not be mapping every single civil war now, because mappers don't map basically every single civil war that's going on in Africa. It's basically just regional conflicts between Islamists, radical Islamists, and as well taking power in some of these countries as well. Africa, meanwhile, South and West Africa create a new alliance pact, basically to help Africa through these tough and inspiring times. Same thing is happening to Latin America and the western portion of the United States. And even Europe and India are suffering from this. However, the global temperatures do not rise as much as the fear-mongering media said it did, which leads to a lot of skeptics saying that global warming was just made up overall. But even then, the temperature still rose by around 0.8 degrees, not the 4 degrees like they're expecting. And yeah, we're using Celsius, not Fahrenheit. The Taliban has been overthrown in Afghanistan, and a kingdom has been put in place. Basically, China and Russia want to have a allied country in the sphere of influence, which leaves Turkmenistan the only country in Central Asia to not have an alliance as well. The Middle Eastern Alliance proposed an alliance with Russia. They know that Ottomans might call on for the Western countries to intervene. They basically a mutual cooperation with each other, between Russia and China in the Middle East as well, ensuring as well cooperation between all the countries. Another crisis happens as well. There is no more oil in the Middle East, which means the world will have to move on to a new form of energy consumption. The Western countries try to go for renewables. Meanwhile, the East goes for what is the more better option, nuclear energy. Despite the past of the Soviet Union and the mishandling of nuclear energy, Russia and China do nuclear energy pretty well. Also, France does it as well, along with the United States uses nuclear energy. Nuclear energy becomes the number one energy usage worldwide, followed by renewable energies, such as the sun and other sources, like hydro energy and stuff like that. But nuclear energy is the number one most used energy as well. Also, asteroid mining becomes a thing, and US, EU, and China and Russia become the first countries to start using asteroid mining to ship energy back to Earth, which means it's the first instance of interplanetary trade. The 2050s actually go by pretty smoothly. There hasn't been really many major conflicts as well in the 2050s. Besides Liberia wanting to expand as well. Liberia basically expands communism into a new civil war in Sierra Leone, which basically effectively is a civil war between communists and people who want a monarchy. The republic falls in this country as well, and Sierra Leone is split into two countries: a monarchy and a communist state. It is basically like North and South Korea, but with Sierra Leone as well. Climate change is also negatively affecting many countries in many ways. Eritrea declares war on Ethiopia for some weird reason. Eritrea basically just gets destroyed by Ethiopia, and again, Eritrea is forced to give up its coastal region here, which means Ethiopia finally has beaches, and Eritrea is split in half. They're still an independent state, but they have lost like half the population as well. Yemen also continues to struggle with terrorist groups, and another one rises within Yemen's borders. They basically just say, you know what, Yemen, we're done with this, and a massive coalition fights, including the Arabian states and Ethiopia, knowing that this entire militant operation is a threat to basically the entire trade network here, basically use the militaries to fend off against Yemen and free the country of terrorism. Overall, Yemen will basically be under a 4-zone occupation. This area will be the Ethiopian occupation, this area will be the Saudi occupation, this area will be the Omani occupation, and this area will be the Iranian occupation zone. This is basically to prevent any more Islamist terrorist groups from rising in Yemen. Also, another massive breakthrough in technology has happened: the ending of aging. Basically, they finally cracked the biological code, and life expectancy does not matter anymore, as people can theoretically live for as long as possibly can. Which means birth rate crisis may have been overtly been solved, as that was one of the big UN things that was trying to solve aging. So basically, people who are in the ages of 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100s can finally work in the workforce without having to be a burden to society. Basically, this solves the birth rate crisis, and it also solves the entire crisis of aging as well. Well, but it still doesn't solve the climate crisis, which is now the next massive issue humanity is facing, and is now the number one issue as well. However, stuff like de-extinction, for example, the mammoths, dodos, and many major animals that are candidates for de-extinction has been de-extinct. For example, many mammoths have been placed in Siberia, for some reason Siberia, northern Alaska, and even northern this area. Scientists use the mammoths and other de-extinct megafauna as the reason why the climate change hasn't been as catastrophic as projected. Many more animals continue to be de-extinct, and no, there's no dinosaurs. Yours as well. French Guiana finally becomes an independent country. They vote 54 to 46% to become finally an independent state. Same figure Greenland not joining the Nordic Union, or Svalbard not joining the Nordic Union. Another vote is on Hong Kong's independence. I don't think Hong Kong is listed on this map, but Hong Kong basically voted 94% to become a city-state separate from China. They'll still be in the Chinese alliance, but they'll be a totally separate country now. I think Hong Kong is like around here, But yeah, they voted to become an independent country as well. Brunei also decides to basically expand the borders to here. This basically, creates tensions between the Bornean state and Malaysia as well here, in Indonesia. But they basically just used the money they had from the oil to expand the country as well. Also, I forgot this island is actually a part of the Philippines, so they'll be a part of it. Also, Malaysia votes to be a part of the Pacific Alliance, gain the fifth member as well. Also, Bougainville also votes to become a member of this alliance, and Papua New Guinea, not Papua New Guinea, New Guinea also votes to become a member of this alliance. The alliance gains 2 members as well: Bougainville, New Guinea, and of course Malaysia. This expansion causes fear in China. China, however, votes to get a new member following in the alliance, and that's Laos. Laos basically votes to become a part of this alliance. But the tensions continue to get worse and worse between the West and the East as well, and also between Canada. And that's what we're leaving this video off for now. This is not a very long episode, but a lot of things have happened then surprisingly in this episode. And we might be hitting a boiling point in this world. And that's it about this video here. Goodbye.